Joe already asked, you guys know VMware? I'm in VMware. Our product is based within VMware. I've been at Simplivity for about 4 years. I was there before the product was GA. And one of the big things that we wanted to do was make it easy for the customer. We weren't setting out to prove we could write a better GUI. We wanted to make it easy for the customer. Part of that easy is, hey, you don't have something extra to learn. I've walked into a lot of sites, trained them how to use it in a half a day. You know, done. That's it. They go, well, there's got to be more. I go, no, that's it. Makes it much simpler. Makes it much simpler to manage it then. Remember what you have to do. You're not going back through books and looking at things. So in here, Simplivity GUI, vCenter. We add a Simplivity tab, plugin. That's it. That's all you have to do. You're ready to manage the Simplivity OmniCubes. This is typical configuration where it's a 2+1, where I have 2 data centers, Boston and San Jose. Boston I have 2 OmniCubes, San Jose I have 1. Easy to tell that. Size capacity difference. Where I have more capacity in Boston than I do San Jose. This is a shared rig, so somebody else just did a backup. Or actually Mr. Clean just ran on. Again, everything we do there, even the upgrades. If I'm going to upgrade, I'm going to do it from within vCenter. This is part of the interesting thing. Once you decide not to build your own GUI, you can't have to do that, because then you built your own GUI. Everything is in vCenter. So there is no other place to go manage it. Talk about backups all the time with Simplivity. Hopefully most of you guys were in here when John was talking. We have backup policies. Our backup policies do our backups. Again, you're going to manage those right within vCenter. Very basic one here. Within a backup policy, there's rules. In this case, the first rule there sends a backup once a day to Boston. That's my destination. You notice my destination name there is the same as my VMware data center. I didn't have to program that. There's no reason. It's listed already there. Go grab it from there. It just comes up that way. If I go in and change Boston to a different name, it changes in our policies. There's no IP reference, there's no LUN reference, none of that. If I add OmniCubes, no big deal, you add them in. It's still in Boston. That becomes a pool of data for us. I also have another backup that goes to San Jose, my remote site. Then I have a week one, keep that for 3 months, and a month, keep that for 2 years. That's all we have to do to make backup policies. Real straightforward. If I go in and we got other backup policies here. This one, I back up every 10 minutes to both sites. We're able to do that very efficiently because we're only going to send down the data the other side doesn't have. Now you notice I didn't say we're only going to send down the changes, because that's not true. We only send over what the other side doesn't have. Doesn't matter where that data got there from. So if 2 people are one at each site, both download the same ISO. If I do a backup to that remote site, it's not going to send any data because that ISO is already there. All those blocks are there. That is a huge difference. And we're able to do that extremely efficiently. Give you an idea of how that works. Just grab a VM here. Hopefully. This is the guy I want. And we do a backup. And I'll send that to San Jose. I can see that task running down there. So what we're actually doing at this stage is talking to the other side going, hey, I have all this data to send you. Tell me what you don't have. Doesn't matter where it came from. It's not asking, hey, do you have this data from this VM there? if you have it from any VM anywhere down there, tell me. And we won't send that data. Only send what you don't have. We're actually able to do that very, very efficiently. In fact, I think that backup may already be complete. So if you go in and view all my backups, and here's the backup right here, San Jose, protected. It's basically a 500 gig VM. I'll run that up, and we sent over 10 meg. And well under a minute.
And one thing, Warren, just thinking about that is, you haven't touched on it yet, perhaps you were going to, is that when you restore those are all full backups to the end user at that point.
Yep.
There's no,
Right.
It's not incremental or anything.
Yep. So that's my next thing there is I was just going to do the restore.
Yeah, it's not a snapshot.
It is a complete independent, so I can restore this back to Boston. It was running on Boston 02. I can restore it back to Boston 01. So Darryl, how long were your backups taking before?
It depends on how you look at it, but we had a pack system with large images that was starting to pass the 24-hour mark. We're running into problems. And now we're done in, I think, maybe 20 minutes for everything. Most of them are done except for those big ones. We're usually done in very quick. Most of it's usually done under 5 minutes. And that's all of my systems, which we've got 120.
Yeah, well, to make it bad, we'll say an hour. That means you went from 24 hours down to an hour. Right?
It's not.
And it's nowhere near that.
Right.
It's a huge difference. I mean, so I just did that restore, hopefully. Oh, there it is, running right there. It's now registering the VM, so now I have a new VM there. Complete VM, restored from the DR site. So think about that. Would that meet your recovery time objectives and recovery point objectives? See a lot of head shaking there. That's usually what I get. Sometimes I get laughter. Yeah, and that really is a big thing there, that we're able to do that extremely efficiently.
How does it handle item level recovery?
We can go into each backup and do a single file restore. So we can go down to a VM.
Level? So let's say you want to grab an item level recovery from Exchange.
File level restore. We can do files today. For Exchange, typically we'll tie into a crawl. It's a third-party package that can then do that. That's how we typically handle the file level. The crawl is really, a lot of people probably here may have it and use it and not even know it. A lot of third-party companies or a lot of backup software uses that. Let's say most. That's how it would handle Exchange.
Are there plans for more integration with that?
Yeah, there are. Some of it too, for a lot of the Exchange, I recommend people go to DAG. That has a lot of it in it for restoring items.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not just Exchange, it's just in general.
Yep.
item level recovery,
Yeah.
SharePoint, you pick your application.
Yep, absolutely. We want to get more integration with those. It's on the roadmap. Right now we have single file right here. We just go in and browse the file and restore it. So if I look here, and my timing's going to be bad because we do have the VMs doing stuff right now. So here's these VMs. These tasks are normally run there. By doing that backup, I am not going to generate IOPS or that restore, or if I do a clone. Think how fast I did it. How could I generate IOPS of 500 gig VM if I do it in under a minute? That is a big difference. You're not seeing those spikes at night. I know Sean was talking about this last night, that it's no longer these huge spikes every night where he's doing his backups. The other thing I describe that as is you're not buying IT infrastructure to do IT functions. Today what you're doing to meet those high IOPS is you're buying more spindles to meet that demand. You don't, that demand is for backup, not for your business functions. So we can see up here the resources. We have about 11 terabytes of VM data, another 300 plus terabytes of local backups, and 170 terabytes of remote backups. On disk, all I have is 6.14 terabytes. Great savings there. In fact, the savings is 500 terabytes. Think about that IOPS. That's what you want to think about there, not the disk savings. That's I/O we never had to do. So if I go in here, take a VM, do a clone of it, and change the name, clone. Again, I'm going to see that task down there. So all our tasks are registered right there in VMware. So if you have somebody else, you can see what tasks they're running. It's all going to be logged in there. Done. So now, I got more VM data. I'm up to 11.5 terabytes. That jumped up a little bit. But on disk, didn't change. So all I had to do there was copy a bunch of pointers. So again, it becomes very efficient. Still a totally independent copy, but right then at that point, it's identical to the other one, so we don't write any data. So think about this. If you have a test and dev, and you want to take a copy from your production, you can now do it in the middle of the day, not worried about your VMs going down, slowing them down, won't happen. It's going to be done really fast, and you're not going to take up any more disk space. 3 wins right there. You know, you're going to test and upgrade maybe. Very simple. Clone it off, test it. So if we go down a little bit more, how many of you guys work with SANs where you have to create volumes, LUNs, and targets? Take a few more than just raise their hands, but us, no concept of volumes, LUNs, or targets. All we know about is data stores. Want a new data store? That's exactly what you do, is you create a new data store. Oh, except I gotta find the right keyboard now. That's it. Give it a name. Give it a default policy. Give it a size. That's it. You know, I've had customers who tell me they got a special book just so when they go and create new LUNs, they know how to do it, because they don't do it too frequently. Solves that whole problem. And it's pretty easy to remember. It's right there in vCenter. Don't have to go to a separate GUI. None of that.
What would be the advantage of creating in this, in your product, another data store?
None.
Because they're all NFS shares and they're all handled by the controller or the dedupe and compression.
Yep.
And
Yep. Typically we have 2. The biggest reason I've seen people create more than that is for backup policies or bill back. So if you have different departments that you're charging back for storage, Department A may get 5 terabytes, Department B may get 10.
so I would create a, the way I do it now is let's say it's a SQL server, I'd create a volume just for that so that I could run snapshots on it and I could get it back in an hour or, you know, snapshot it every hour or whatever, and they
Yep.
roll over a schedule. So what would be my strategy on this?
You assign that backup policy to the VM. Doesn't matter where that VM resides, it's going to run that backup policy.
And the backups roll over, you have,
You can have them roll over, you can have them however you want, get them longer, shorter. Have one rule, basically each of those would be rules with us. So maybe you do every 15 minutes. I know Sean from Kobe does every 15 minutes, keeps those for an hour. I think they're doing every hour now, and then every day as well.
yeah, because I mean, that's been basically this, we've had 3 ransomware attacks, so that's been the
Yep.
strategy there is that each, 3 file servers, so they each have 3 volumes and back them up every hour and just restore the volume, the snapshot to that point. So,
Yep. So in that case, what you'd probably do with us is even get it down to every 10 minutes. And keep them maybe for 6 hours. So it's easy for you to find and find the right one. And go for it. And just restore them. And so how long does restore take? Same amount of time whether it's 20 gig or 5 terabytes. No difference.
Can you do it on percent of change?
No. Yep. The other thing that's pretty cool that we can do here is we can change the size. You just do online resizing. It's 10. You can bring it down or up. Either direction. That simple. Nothing else I have to do there. Now I can also take a data store and share it out with other ESXi servers that aren't Simplivity. Bring this up. Got an HP box. Share it out.
is this sharing NFS or iSCSI?
NFS. That's all you got to do. Making it
And
very
you have all the
easy.
advantages of the storage within the Simplivity itself, correct? With
Yep.
the data dedupe and
Yep.
compression.
Yep. So you can use that either because you already have existing boxes, take advantage of them, migrate our stuff, migrate your VMs over to us that way, or if you need more CPU or memory and don't need more disk space. Either way.
What about integrating more storage into that? That would,
That you'd buy another OmniCube for.
right, but if you already had storage, would
Like your existing storage?
yeah, your existing storage, how would you integrate
If
that?
it's iSCSI or NFS, you could share it with us, but we're not going to dedupe or compress it.
Right, right.
We have customers who do that.
What about you've got the V client here, and of course, there's a lot of things you can't do with it that you have to use the web client for. So do you integrate with that, or you keep both of these things up? The
You
web
can
and-
integrate with that as well, the latest release. I think
It's not like I like the web.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm
like
trying to
when
be
you-
polite,
When
okay?
you gotta edit something, I mean, you've got,
Yeah.
your hardware.
Yeah, we're integrated into it. It's,
Yeah.
just like your statement there,
It's not like I want.
Yep. And, I am showing you our functions from a day-to-day, other than the restore. You don't use most of our functions from a day-to-day. And even the restore isn't.
And as far as the backup and all that only integrates within the OmniCube and not the other hosts that you would add in there.
Oh, yeah,
Really?
yeah. So any VMs you run on there, get our backups.
That the storage exists on the OmniCube.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So if we go a little bit lower down to a VM, we can then see more detail. Across the top, I have breadcrumbs. I've had those all along, but just wasn't much there to show. My backup policy. So if I want to change that, I can just go in here. Maybe it wasn't in production, so now I'm going to move it in production, and we'll set it to every 4 hours. That simple. So this is where, that critical VM that you're worried about being attacked, you would set up in here and go, okay, maybe I want it every hour, every 10 minutes. That's where you'd set that up. Per VM. I can go and change that at any time. It's going to tell me what the changes take effect. I'm going to increase my backups by 1%. Do yes or no there. Ready to go. I have all my backups here, so I can just restore any of these. Restore them anywhere. So it's in San Jose, I can restore it back to San Jose. Doesn't matter. Still going to take roughly the same amount of time. That simple. I can see my IOPS throughput and latency right there. Again, if I do a backup, I'm not going to affect the IOPS for that VM. Send it remotely. Don't see any spike there in my IOPS or throughput. Not taking up any real data. You can also move a VM. I think this is very interesting. So if I do a Simplivity move, it'll actually pick up the whole VM and move it to another location. We have companies that buy our stuff really to do migrations. You know, so they got to move a data center from one location to the other. I'm sure a whole bunch of you in here have put servers in the back of your cars, right, to move them. Taking a big chance, getting a car accident or anything else, what's going to shake, rattle, and come loose in that server. Next is, once you get it there, is the networking correctly? Can people reach it? What you can do with the OmniCubes by doing this move is you can move a VM over. I'll take probably a minute to move over. There it goes. Registering it, done. Doesn't work, move it back. Got a backup plan. You know, so very straightforward. Now think about this. We had a company that was moving data centers from Puerto Rico up to Boston. You know, they were originally planning on putting the storage, taking it on the plane. Any of you guys ever looked out the window and see luggage handlers, how they move things? Yeah. There's one time I bet you most of us would open up that emergency door. It's when you saw that luggage handler moving your array, right? You know, what they did instead is just put a couple of OmniCubes down at their production site, put them in Boston, move the VMs. You know, very straightforward. Take a look at the actual OmniCube. So this is an OmniCube, front and back of it. The front, 4 SSD drives. First 4 drives here. Those are in RAID 5, so you can lose one of those, no problem. That is used for read cache. Again, a little bit different than what most storage companies are telling you. We use it for read cache because we don't want to increase IOPS. If we used it for write cache, that means at some point you got to read and write it again, generating extra IOPS. Our engineers live by a motto: the best I/O you can do is the one you don't have to. Very old saying. Very few people have worked on it. We did. The next 8 on this model are standard hard drives in RAID 6, so we can lose 2 of those. For ports on the back, an IPMI port, 2 10 gigs, 2 1 gigs, dual power supplies, boot mirror drives, and this is the OmniCube accelerator card there. It's actually a debug port on it, not really used. All our traffic for storage goes through the 10 gig. Standard networking function. We're using standard TCP, nothing special for you to learn. Connect them up, they're ready to go. Now what's nice here is when a write comes in, it comes into that card. We immediately copy it over to another OmniCube if there's 2 or more there. So it's in 2 places. We're able to acknowledge that write right then. There's super caps on there and VRAM, so even if somebody came out and pulled all 4 power plugs, your write is safe. We then try to dedupe it. If we can dedupe it, we're done. Never has to hit the hard drives. We saved an IOP then. And there's a lot more dedupe data than we initially think about. Think about running an exchange on here with VDI users. Somebody sends around a PDF file of a meg to 10 people. It's easily 10 writes, if not more, because everybody ends up saving that to another location. Maybe that's 20 or 30 writes. Simplivity, it's one, the initial creation of it. That's it. So that's what we're doing with our dedupe. If we can't dedupe it, we're going to compress it. Compress it right in that card, in line. That's what that card was designed for, to be able to do that at line speed. At that point, we'll actually hold on to that write for a millisecond, so they can write a full stripe to the hard drives, because that's far more efficient. Does all that make sense? That's really the whole product. That's what I train. Yep.
Is the actual, is the reason why I can move things between nodes so fast because it's saved on all the devices at once? Just the pointer is that it's running primarily on this one, so the second one's not holding it until you move it?
When we move from site to site,
Right.
yes, it can move it so fast because we've already had a backup there. So all the data's there.
So just pushing the change from last time it synced, basically.
Yes, but I don't like change because it doesn't matter if it was changed within that. It's if the data's not there, is all we're sending. The really key to that, though, is the ability to be able to ask the other side very efficiently, do you have all this data? Because if you did a string comparison, wouldn't matter because it would take too long. That is really our technology underneath the covers, is the ability to compare very quickly to a remote site.
So if you had a remote site, you had, a cluster of OmniCubes local, cluster on the remote site, and you built a bunch of servers on the local site. I mean, you still have a fixed bandwidth between there that's going to take some time to sync up.
Absolutely.
So you're not going to get a bang, it's done initially.
Correct. You'd still have to sync it up. But typically in that environment, you do what, for most other storage, you do what's considered a preceding, right? You take the DR device, bring it over to your production side, copy all the VMs there.
So you put it in your trunk of your car and drive it down.
I said that's what most, I said that's,
I'm just saying.
yeah, I said, well, I agree with you, but remember, I said that's what most storage arrays will do.
Yeah.
I don't do that,
No, good.
okay? There's 3 customers in this room, none of them preceded.
Yeah.
They all told me they were going to. They all made me come up with plans to do it, okay? And basically I just kind of put it off and said, yeah, okay, we'll get to that.
Because you're doing
And-
deduping, you're doing
Yep.
compression, you're doing WAN
Yeah.
acceleration, you're doing all of that stuff.
Right, and all of a sudden they go, hey, my VMs are over there.
Right.
Very rarely do we have to precede. Okay, I can tell you one example I know we had to. We're handling a ship out in the Gulf, and it's doing backup through satellite.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a precede in that case, okay?
Latency there. Probably.
So, yeah, a little bit of a latency issue.
Is
But
there a
most-
minimum recommended bandwidth for this?
The satellite is pretty much the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, if you can get it, any slower than that, I'm really going to question your ability. Nothing personal there. Yeah. You've done something.
Got a bucket of ones and
Yeah,
zeros.
when the,
here.
yeah, I said when the old modem that has a coupler on it comes out of the bag, right? Yeah.
Warren, you had another question up here.
Oh, that's it. Sorry.
Does it come with a backup accelerated card?
That one card does it all.
Okay. So what happens if you lose the card?
The data. Remember when I said the data comes in?
Yep.
Goes to 2 locations. You get the data off the other location. That simple.
Is that card hot swappable?
No. If you did lose the card too, your VMs don't have to move. They can stay on, you know, if you lost this card, again, in this case there's two, the VMs running on there would just get the data off the other side.
So you pretty much still want to plan for N+1.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know,
So for organizations that can't afford that, that's your single point of failure, the card for one box?
if you, yeah, I mean, you're no different than if you put a server there and with local storage. That's, you know, we're just a little bit more efficient about it, but it'd be no different. I think everybody here would point out several single points of failure.
Well, what I mean is, it seems like there's redundancy built into the box in
Yep.
other instances. That just seems like the one point of failure for the boxes. at a single
It's
point.
still a server, so this is part of the issue. Yeah, why didn't you put multiple cards in there? The motherboard's still a single point of failure. Any CPU chip is, any memory chip. Now, if we pulled the Stratus, say, and duplicated all that, the price of this box, none of you guys would buy. So it's far cheaper to put a second box there than it is to get rid of all those single points of failure out of it. Even a lot of storage arrays really do that. They just hide it a little bit more from you.
As
Yeah.
far, I'm sorry.
Yep,
As
it's
far
okay.
as your network setup, are you for your 10 gig? Are you segregating a storage and a data network, or is everything just one pipe?
We are segregating. Our data is on the 1 gigs on these models. And then our storage, these are using the standard switches. You can use distributed switches as well. Our storage is just on the 10. I do have other customers.
But you've only
These-
got two 1 gig NICs available.
Two 1 gigs,
for-
right. These slots are open. I have customers who've put more 10 gigs and more 1 gigs.
And
in.
you're putting your management network on there. And
Yeah, it's all up to your best practice at that point.
In our case, we're running everything on the 10 gig.
Yep.
Federation, storage, all of it, service delivery, it's all 10 gig.
Yeah, that's a lot of customers who have the 10 gig infrastructure run everything on a 10. What's nice, if you only need two OmniCubes, you direct connect them together. You don't need 10 gig switches. So, you know, that kind of goes back to your fault tolerant question. Well, by eliminating equipment, the odds of you having a fault is far less. Right? If you have 20 devices, the odds of one of them breaking compared to having one device, you know, the 20 devices, the odds are much higher. That's part of what we've done there. Yep.
So if you've got 10 gig connections going between the two and you sort of daisy chain them together rather than going through switches, your replication traffic, I guess, at that point is going over the LAN, I would assume?
Correct. Even with the 10 gigs, it goes over the WAN. We expect you to be at remote sites. So it's, you know, if you got a 10 gig connection, you know, great, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But yeah.
Can you tell it which connections to use for the replication?
It's the management network. So if you run the management on the 10 gig, it'll go over that one. Which we do have, I don't think you got 10 gig, right, Sean, between the two sites?
No.
Yeah, so, very, you know, we do have sites that are 10 gig between the two sites. Typically, it's a university campus. Europe, it's pretty common. But their sites are blocks apart. So, here in the States, typically you want it, you know, I'm gonna say 20 miles apart, just as a,
How many VMs do you typically run per box?
I think the average I saw a couple of weeks ago was close to 40. I have customers that are way above that, customers that are way below it. Like, to be honest, we don't change that number, right? If on a box configured with that much memory and that much CPU, you typically run 30 just for a number, you're going to probably run 30 on us. If, you know, you come in and tell me, hey, I run 200 because they're really light servers, you're probably going to be able to run 200 on us, right? We both know if it's 200 and you want 40 gigs of memory on each of them, that ain't gonna work, right? So it doesn't really change all that much.
What are the flavors?
Oh,
If, in that example you were given before about, I think the question was, why does it copy so quickly? And you talked about how it quickly does the diff, it identifies what needs to move, right?
yep, it identifies, yeah.
Yeah, and it's more than that, isn't it? Once it has that diff, it looks to see, have I already got this data somewhere? In other words, I know what the diff is, but if I,
So they're actually, each side is talking to each other.
yeah,
So it tells the other side, hey, I have all this data.
yeah,
Basically, it's an index or hash table.
right,
Sends it over to the other side and goes, hey, what of this don't you have? And the other side just tells us,
yeah,
and that's it.
okay. And then it screams.
Then we start screaming what it doesn't have.
Okay,
'Cause it now knows what it takes to build that full VM.
okay.
It basically has the index table. It's just missing certain chunks of it.
So you say, or ask what flavors this comes in terms of memory source capacity?
Yep. We have boxes from memory, pretty small. I'm going to say down to, say, 50 gig, just as a round number. Okay, up to about 650 usable. Okay, I'm giving you a usable number there because we do use some of that memory. So that's why it's kind of odd numbers. I'm not going to try to get into the exact math. I don't think it matters here. CPUs, we're running on the latest CPUs, motherboards. So, whatever we get from Intel. We have a Cisco model, a Lenovo model, and then our own. So those should be able to get you just about any CPUs. Always 2 procs. I don't think we have any boxes more than 2 physical procs.
Storage.
Storage as little as, I'm going to say, a terabyte per box, up to about 20. And that's kind of raw. So you may get a lot more. I was talking to a customer earlier today, or a potential customer here, and somebody brought up, he's got basically about 5 terabytes. He has 4 copies of it because he's got production, he's got a couple devs, a couple QA and test systems, where he's just literally taking production and copy it. For us, that's a beautiful story.
So the only way to scale that is drop in another cube.
Yep. That's going to give you more performance and more storage and more CPU and more memory. It's pretty rare that when you start really scaling that you don't need those other things. They may not be critical and you may not have looked at them right away, but typically when we take a step back, you go, oh yeah, I need some more of this resource anyways.